Hi, I'm Chloe.
And I'm Bez.
And this podcast is for graduate teachers in their first 5 years.
We share our own teaching stories as well as advice and ideas we wish we'd had as graduate teachers.
Sometimes funny, sometimes horrifying, but always true.
We want you to thrive and love teaching beyond the dreaded 5-year cliff.
Hi, I'm Chloe, your maths and science teacher, and my incredible party trick is that I can, with precision accuracy, squirt water between my two front teeth. Like, I could target something if I wanted to.
I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible skill, might I say. Might have to get a clip of that and attach it at the end of this episode, Chloe.
I don't know about that.
I'm Bez, maths and science teacher as well, and my party trick attempts is ripping out hip-hop moves on the dance floor.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's a trick. That's like facts.
I try.
Yeah, she is an incredible dancer, folks. She really
you're too
is.
nice.
Yeah.
I think you're too nice, Chloe.
Awesome. Well, welcome back to our final episode of the season. You've made it through semester 2. Yay! Well done. Oh, semester 2? Semester 1.
Semester 1.
Semester 1. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Term 2, semester 1.
Term 2, semester 1. Well done. So our focus for today is really going to be on our semester or mid-year learnings. What are all of the things that we can reflect on as teachers as we've embarked on our careers and we're now halfway through the year?
I love that. Taking stock halfway through the year so you can continue on the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You know, with some improvements.
From the serious to the most ridiculous, but also very practical. So I actually wanted to start with something a little bit, I mean, I always say controversial, but nothing we talk about is that controversial, I would say. Something very real, and that is, what have you learned about teacher etiquette?
Oh, what a great topic to start on because
It's a juicy one.
it is juicy and there's a lot of unspoken rules.
There are, aren't there?
Yes,
You
yes.
don't know until you know.
Yeah,
And then by the time that you know, you've probably already done something to annoy someone.
this is correct.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Yeah. 100%.
I've got one straight off the bat.
Oh, go. Tell me a story.
Never, ever, ever, ever use another teacher's mug.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Yeah.
I didn't realise that there were specific teacher mugs.
Do you know what
I
it
thought
is?
it was communal mugs.
That's what I thought too. Like, it is a little bit annoying. Like, come on. There's got to be a little bit of onus on the person whose mug it is to put their mug in the communal space.
Yes.
Like, that does irk me. Like, you don't want me to use your mug that has some, I don't know, Tweety on it, or I don't know, that's very 90s of me, but I don't know, like an inspirational quote or
Yes.
like best teacher, whatever it says. Like, don't put it in the main cupboard. Like, keep it on your desk.
I totally agree with you. And that was what I always thought. If that was your mug, why aren't you keeping it on your desk? But there you go.
Yeah.
Do not drink from other people's mugs.
Okay, but for those who are like, oh no, I don't know if that was someone else's mug or if it was a communal mug. Like, how do you know? What are the signs that you should look for?
If another teacher drinks from it all the time.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good sign.
Honestly, I think my rule of thumb is if it's in the drawer, I just assume that that's communal.
Okay.
And then at my second workplace, we had clearly labelled communal mugs.
Oh, okay.
And then we had like
Well, that's helpful.
specific mugs. That was much better.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I can't really tell you.
Yeah, I know. I feel like
What do
the
you think?
only other telltale sign might be that, like, a mug that, like, looks pretty, like, stock standard. There's, like, nothing on it. No pictures, no images. There's, like, 50 of them.
Yeah.
They're generally, like, the mugs that the schools purchased.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are sort of like a mishmash collection of something. But then at the same time, I have been at schools where like none of the mugs matched and it was very confusing. So I don't know. I suppose just keep a lookout. If there's lots of one type, that's probably a safe bet. And if the others look different, like avoid.
What if there's like 5 world's best teacher mugs?
Well, then pick one and just like when you hold it, just cover the entire mug with your hands so no one can see it.
That is great. I like that. There you go. Don't say we didn't teach you anything.
It's very important.
Very important. Have you got something that stands out immediately about teacher etiquette?
Okay, so there's probably like 2 things. One, which is something that was like a pet peeve, but that I'm also guilty of, and that is like teachers who steal the communal forks.
Oh,
because like you will know the staff room, you will go in, there's like, you are lucky to find a fork.
Yes.
Like forks are really, really hard to come by in teaching. There is a plethora of spoons. There are a gajillion knives. Never in your life are you lucky enough to find a fork in the drawer, right?
This is very true.
So I used to like mostly bring my own forks, but on the off occasion that I did forget my own fork,
Oh, no.
I like was 100% that teacher that like would take it home to wash it and bring it back, in which case, I mean, there's probably the occasional fork in my drawer at home that doesn't belong. I'm really sorry to all of the teachers that I used to work with.
Unintentional, though.
But I'm sure like everyone did it, right?
Yeah.
But like when in doubt, yeah, bring your own fork. I think, yeah. And then moving on, we're very much into the kitchen and the cutlery at the moment, so I'm going to stay there. Teachers who just leave their dirty dishes in the sink.
Oh.
There is a dishwasher, or you
yes.
should be hand washing your dishes.
Yes.
Like, I am sorry, but it is not someone else's job to go and clean up after you. And I know some schools will have like a cleaning roster, but like, come on, just like,
Yes.
how hard is it to clean up after yourself?
Yes. And also, most, if not all of the times, the sink is right next to the dishwasher, so I could never understand
Why something
it's
would
just
be...
you don't have to step. It's just an arm reach. and you put it
Legitimately.
in. I'm with you on that one.
That would
yeah.
really annoy me.
Especially when there's chunks of food and then it just sits in the sink and then clogs it up.
Gross.
I agree.
Yuck. I can't
Rinse
handle.
or put away your dishes.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like food, once it leaves a plate and then enters the sink and becomes part of like the sinkhole debris, that like thing, like it becomes so much more yuck.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I have a very clear image that I want to get out of my head now.
Ew. It's kind of like, like hair's not gross until it leaves your head and then it
Yes.
becomes really gross.
And then you're like, oh.
ooh, that's disgusting.
I have one, but although we're going to move out of
The kitchen?
and now we're moving into the staff room,
Okay.
wherever your office is.
Yep.
And I'm sure that I've done this before, but if you are printing a class set
Oh, yes.
of
I know where you're
assessments
going.
or projects,
Yeah.
please do not print it like 10 minutes before class starts.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something else. I'm so guilty of that.
Because sometimes, or a lot of times, you just need to do like an emergency,
Like quick print.
a quick print. And then you get to the printer and then you see 1 out of 175.
Sorry, that's me.
And you're like, well, that's my lesson.
Well, Bez, I'm sorry, but I was organised enough to give myself that 10 minutes to print my class set. Like, come on now.
But this is my thing. I'm like, do it during a free or, for
What
example,
if
like
my
before
free
school,
got
after
taken up?
school. That's fair.
Anyway, that was
Anyway.
100% me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We've all been there.
I thought that you were going to actually say, like, don't, like, jam the printer and then leave the paper jam. Because that's
I've
how
done
you
that.
I was, like, always the person who was fixing other people's paper jams. And I was like, why can't anyone, like, fix their own paper jam or, like, ask someone for help? Like, the printers these days are so good. Like, they give you the instructions on, like,
Of
where
what?
to look for the jam, how to unblock the jam.
Yeah.
Like, it's really step by step.
But have you ever jammed to the printer and it told you, open part 2, and you open part 2,
And there's nothing there.
and there's nothing there. But
Yeah.
then you close it and it says, paper jam in part 2. So that was when I
Okay, but usually
left
that means you
the
haven't
printer.
looked hard enough. Usually.
I've been guilty of that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm the paper jam fixerer. That's
And
not a word.
we're
but-
very grateful For paper jam
people
fixers.
like me, yeah.
Paper jam fairies.
I didn't mind doing it, but like because I would be that person who would be like, oh, I have to print my class set and it's 10 minutes until my lesson. This is going to take me a full 10 minutes. I'd walk in, there'd be the paper jam, and then I'd be like cussing under my own breath, like trying to fix the jam so that I then had enough time to get it done to go to class.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one used to annoy me.
I have on occasions tried to fix paper jams, but for some reason, apparently, I have an innate skill of being really bad at pulling out jammed paper
And then
in one entire sheet. So
that's
apparently
good.
I just, I can't pull out the entire jammed paper.
like you rip it.
I rip it in half and it becomes more jammed.
Oh, lovely. So
And
you
then I
shouldn't-
panic and leave.
Okay, so you're the person that should be going to get help.
It's me.
okay.
The problem's me.
Don't work with Bess,
No.
anyone. The other one that I was going to mention, but I mean, there's sort of two sides to this. So, like, it depends what kind of office space, what your staff room, like wherever your office is, what that is like. But I've worked in some pretty, like, big open plan, like everyone's in one big space.
Oh,
offices.
open plan.
Yeah, like
Okay.
massive spaces. In which case, like, maintaining a certain level of noise becomes pretty important.
Yes.
Or, you know what, I shouldn't say it like that. I should say maintaining a certain level of quiet is very important.
Yes.
And there are often some people who don't necessarily understand what an inside voice is. I definitely do have an inside voice, which is good. Some people do not. If that is you, then you need to go somewhere else to talk. I'm really sorry.
Go
But
for a
you're
walk and
definitely,
talk.
you're definitely annoying someone.
Yes.
But I know some people are really good and they bring like their noise cancelling headphones, which I think is
Yes.
important because I don't think offices should be like dead silent.
Mm.
Like there is a certain amount of like collegial work that needs to go on.
Yeah.
But something that I'm definitely guilty of, and I don't even know that I'm doing this, is if I have headphones in, I'm prone to humming to like the music that I'm listening to. Yeah,
Chloe.
I know. This actually really annoys my husband at home. But yeah, I'm pretty prone to humming to like what I'm listening to, but I don't even know I'm doing it.
And any bet it is a really catchy song,
So
and then it
catchy.
will get stuck in another
In
person's
everyone
head.
else's head. Yeah. So like no one has ever told me that has annoyed them apart from my husband. But because I know I do it, I'm sure I have definitely really annoyed some people and I try to be super conscious of it now.
At least you're aware of it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the start. The other thing too about the inside voice and then talking in the staff room is, sometimes inspiration strikes at random times as
Okay.
teachers, you know. But if you are having a co-working session and bouncing off ideas, sometimes it can be across the room.
Yes.
In that case, just
Yeah.
a nice friendly reminder, a gentle aggressive reminder to move closer to each
Yes,
other.
rather than like yelling across the office. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
Great idea.
hey, Bess. Yeah, it can happen. It can
Yes.
happen.
And you mentioned headphones.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is pretty universal, not just in the teaching world, but if someone's got headphones in, most likely they are trying to focus or work on something.
Yes.
So perhaps avoid hovering.
Yeah.
It's not nice to feel hovered over.
Yeah. 100%. This is like a bit awkward, and I'm sure this is awkward for anyone who's in this position. But how do you, like, if you are irritated by somebody else's, like, workplace behaviours,
Yes.
how do you kindly address that or give that feedback? Have you ever had to do that?
I feel like I have,
Okay.
but I try to do it in a funny way. So, for example, it's like, if someone's printing a stack of assessments,
Okay.
I'm like, who's printing this? I don't know.
Okay,
Just
so-
trying to have a humour. I'm like, I just need one sheet printed. Trying to put a humorous lens
Yes, yes.
on it.
Yep.
But I also think that's probably easier because in the teaching world, we're sort of going through the same thing.
And you can have a bit of a laugh about it
Yeah,
together.
so I think it's like quite easy to empathise and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, I can see why you put a class set through. Like I would also do the same at some point.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like the other thing, and I've like not done this, but I've had other people do this to me because I was the person printing a lot. Like if we were in the printing queue and there was quite a few of us there, often just checking in and being like, oh, are you teaching next? Like how much have you got?
Yes.
And then you can kind of like prioritize like, oh, you go first. You've only got like
Yeah.
4 things to copy. I've got a whole class set. Like,
Yep.
or I've got next period on. You've got it off. Like, we'll reprioritize like
Yeah.
that. Like little things like that just show that you're being mindful of
That's
other
so
people's
true.
time.
Yeah.
Um,
And that happens quite a bit. I remember
Yeah.
like all the time I used to go to the printer and of course another staff member would come and would be like, so what are you printing and when do you need it for, as
Yeah.
you said? And then, yeah,
you just kind of have a little
most people are
printer
very
chats.
flexible and relaxed and, you know, it's like, oh, you go first.
Yep. I think the trickiest one to address is like the noise level one.
Yeah.
And the only way that I've ever seen that be addressed is through, you know, somebody talking to about it to like the principal class, and then like a DL getting sent out to everyone being like, just a reminder,
Yeah.
like to keep noise levels at a minimum and like
Yeah.
wear headphones and kind of stuff like that. Yeah, there's been instances where like people can get pretty like snarky, but like that's not good for like your relationships with others.
No.
And B, it's probably not going to get the desired result at the end of the day. So
No.
Handle with care.
Yeah.
Handle with care.
Yeah.
But be assertive at the same time. Like you don't need
course.
to be like aggressive about it or anything
Yeah.
or rude. Like you can just be like, hey, you know, would you mind like continuing your conversation in like the lunchroom or
Yeah.
whatever it is?
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. You know, it's like, yeah, this sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
I really need to get through this right now. Do you mind? Yeah.
Yes.
Moving it to the stuff
And
room.
I remember this was something that used to happen to me a lot in my first teaching job. Where my desk was positioned was in a large communal staff room, but I was right in the walkway. So what that meant is people would walk into the office in the morning and then like I would be the first person that they would see.
Fun.
I know. And I'm a pretty social person. I like to like get along with everyone. So I'd often be that first person that people stop and have a chat to.
Yeah, okay.
And so it actually became really hard for me to try to like fend off different conversations when I
Yes.
really needed to focus.
Yeah.
So I just thought about, okay, well, how can I give people some signals that I'm really deep and in the zone? So one would just be sort of like the way that I positioned my body. Like, can I position myself slightly away from the door so that it gets people the idea, hey, she looks like she's really deep into something.
Yeah.
Headphones was the other thing. And then like there's also other places usually in your workplace that you can work from. So like if you do need to go and hide in a classroom or, you know, you need to book a meeting room or whatever it is
Yeah.
to do some very deep work uninterrupted, that can be a really good thing to do. And I know if you're a coordinator, that's something that a lot of coordinators do.
Yep.
People in leadership positions, like you're often trying to go and hide from people so
Yes.
that you can just like protect your time and get that block in.
Yeah, which is really important as well. I used to hide in the library a lot.
Oh, there
which
you go.
is a nice
Library.
hidden spot because I feel like not a lot of teachers go to the library.
The students do, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
hot tip.
Yeah.
Hot tip, go hide in the library,
Yeah.
everyone.
It's a new meeting spot.
Just don't tell anyone. All right, so we've spoken a little bit about like the etiquette and that kind of thing. I know we've talked earlier in the season about, you know, your colleagues and how important your colleagues are, both in terms of learning throughout your teaching career, but also sometimes as friends. But do you have to be friends with everyone?
No.
Okay. Care to elaborate?
I said it in that way because I feel like I'm the sort of person where I will try to initially, but then it's like, oh, you don't have to be friends with
Yeah.
everyone at the workplace. There are people that naturally you'll get along with much better, and
Yeah.
then some people you just have to work with them.
Yeah,
And
so
that's
you've got to be
fine.
professional.
Exactly. It's also interesting when you're working like in a team together as well. And
Yeah.
as teachers, you know, we obviously have different inspirations and different ideas and different ways that we tackle problems or challenges. Personally, for me, that was probably where I found it a bit difficult.
Like where there was a difference of opinion, or
where there was a difference, but probably more so when people were a bit headstrong and weren't open to any other option or discussing it. Because I think it's fine to have differences in opinion. It's important, if anything, because you learn off each other. But when people are like set in their ways and not open to, being flexible or having a discussion about it.
Yeah, people with like a bit more of like a foot down approach.
Yes, and it's like my way or the highway or the freeway. I don't know which one it is.
I say highway.
Highway.
Yeah.
They both end in way, so they rhyme.
Yeah.
That's where I found it was difficult.
Really hard, yeah. What helped in those situations?
I think just in those situations being like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from, so acknowledging there. I think that was probably
It's like
important.
you're trying to model the behaviour you want to see, right? Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
It is, yeah. So it's like acknowledging, it's like, oh, yeah, I can understand like why you would like do it that way.
However,
have you considered?
Yeah.
Oh, you've been there before.
I've been there before,
Yeah.
Have you considered is a good phrase.
Excellent phrase. What about you? Do you feel like you have to be friends with everyone?
Not so much. I mean, I don't know. I think initially, I like to be friendly with everyone. Like, I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've had like a nemesis at school or anything like that. I've definitely had some teachers like have run-ins like with me, and that's definitely been initiated on the other end rather than on my end.
Yeah.
I have this like vivid memory of a teacher in my first year where I taught this Year 9 class, period 6 on a Friday, in this 3rd-storey building, and they had to hike across the school to come get to me. I've probably talked about this class before, but it was really hard to engage them. So sometimes we'd do like fun activities and quizzes and things, and I remember there was one lesson where my class was super engaged in a Kahoot quiz. But the teacher next door, I think, was doing an assessment with her Year 11 class. And I remember she just like stormed into my class. Like not came in and knocked, not came in and spoke to me, like came in, stormed in, and then just like yelled at my class for being too loud without acknowledging that I was even present.
Oh, wow.
And I was kind of like, whoa, that was a little bit rude and like not okay. And I think looking back, as a more experienced teacher now, I probably would have spoken to her afterwards and been like, hey, I really didn't appreciate how you came into my class. Like, I understand they might have been noisy, but next time can you please just let me know and I'll deal with it. Like, I wasn't aware that that was impacting your lesson and I apologise.
Yeah.
But as a little newbie who was like, oh, no, I did the wrong thing. My class was naughty. I wasn't controlling them. Like, I really blamed myself.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was a bit tense, I will say. And then I always felt really nervous when I taught them and her class was nearby.
Again, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you raise that. I feel like particularly as a beginner teacher, like if it's a new situation, if that's the first time, I can understand how like you would feel. I would feel exactly the same, that like it was my fault or something.
Yeah.
But also we're all adults. I feel like it could be a knock and like, hey, you know, we've got an assessment.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
and that's happened before as well.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
Absolutely easy to deal with. And then you just go, oh, so sorry. And you get your class to quieten down. Yeah. And they're good about it.
Yeah.
But I do think that, and look, maybe it's you're having an issue with the noise level in somebody else's class and you don't know how to approach it. Mm-hmm. Just go and chat to that teacher and just be like, hey, my class is doing an assessment. Like, do you mind getting them to quieten down a bit? Like, that will be received much better than you going in and undermining the other teacher's authority.
Yeah.
And then you also kind of destroy your relationship with them a little bit too, and then that's going to need to be repaired. And it becomes a thing.
Yeah,
we don't want it to become a thing.
No,
you can be professional
all in it together.
Yeah, and at the same token, like, you don't need to necessarily get along with everyone. There've definitely been people that I've met throughout my career who like you said, you don't have to agree on everything. You might have a difference of opinion. You might not even get along very well. Mm-hmm. But you can still absolutely, and you still must be a professional and, like, be kind to people. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's a workplace at the end of the day. And, like, I'm a true believer that you should treat people how you wish to be treated.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. So we've moved from the kitchen to the staff room.
Mm-hmm.
How about during yard duty? That's a few different spots around the school and always an interesting time. I
We've
feel like
kind of gone from inside all of the rooms in a school to the outside now.
yeah.
Oh, man.
On top
Yard
of your
duty.
head, have you got a story about
How many stories do you want, Bez?
maybe like one of the best and one of the worst yard duties?
One of the best and one of the worst. Do you know what? This is an interesting one, but there used to be like this circuit that I used to walk on. And it was a pretty quiet circuit. It was like around a building and I had to go into like an out of bounds area near some lockers that like students weren't meant to be at during lunch and then usher them back and then just go around this building. And I used to really like this circuit because there were some students that I teach that used to always hang out on the circuit. And they knew that I was at that circuit like every Thursday. So I'd always go and say hi to them, which was really lovely. But then I also knew that every Thursday I would come across this one student who had just had some changes in his friendship group. Mm-hmm. And he kind of used to hang out like by himself in this out of bounds area.
Yeah.
And I remember like it was a little bit sad because I was like, oh man, like he's probably just struggling to like find his people. And like he's going to find his people, but he doesn't know where to start. But it was nice because it became a bit of a ritual for us. Like every Thursday I'd walk around, I'd find him there. Like we'd say hello, we'd have a bit of a chat. He knew he wasn't meant to be there. And then like, we'd just – and it was nice because I built a really good relationship with him. We'd built really good rapport. I found out a little bit about like his interests and like why his friendship group changed and what classes he was doing and what he wanted to do in future. And through that, I actually got him involved in there was like a club in our library at the time. It was like a lunchtime game session. And then I got him, like I recommended him. And I was like, hey, did you know that you could just go in the library at lunch and there's like games and stuff? Because I found out he liked playing games.
Yeah.
And then he did that and he started to make some new friends. And then it was a little bit sad when I didn't see him on the circuit anymore. Yeah. But it was also kind of like wholesome because I was like, oh, like you're finding your people.
Yeah. And like his group and what his interests and all that are, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really nice. The worst ones, generally involve like students who are getting into fights and you need to like get involved in breaking up a fight, which can be really scary.
Yes.
There was actually one instance where I was about to change over for yard duty and so I was walking to my yard duty area and walking past another area. But as I was walking past that area, like the person who was meant to be there had left before the other person had come over, if that makes sense.
Before the swap over.
And it was on the soccer pitch and there was a fight like that just broke out on the soccer pitch and there was barely any teachers around.
Oh, no.
And so I like bolted.
Yeah.
One of the students involved was a student that I taught. I was obviously really concerned for his well-being and for the other students' well-being. Lucky a coordinator was nearby in their office and saw what was coming out. So she ran out and we both just like ran down. But yeah, like that can be really scary. And like in those moments, like students get really heated. Like they're not thinking, they're just acting and they're very much in their emotions. They're in like what I would call like a red zone.
Yeah.
And they just need to calm down. Like you can't reason with them.
No.
You kind of just need to make sure that you get them away.
Yep.
So that they can then calm down and go from there.
They have the physical space to actually calm down.
Yeah. So they're kind of the worst situations I've been in.
Hopefully when you're on yard duty, hopefully you never experience a fight. But in the instance, if you haven't experienced a fight while you're on yard duty, a telltale sign is when you suddenly see students running in one direction or if they start grouping. That is a very big...
If you see them all run one way, you should run there too because they're running towards
Your story just like reminded me. I was just like, a few memories came up when you were talking about that story and just the memory of all of a sudden just like herds of students moving in one direction.
That's when you know.
Yeah, and then
you're like, okay, something's happening. Yeah, it's scary. What about you?
I would say pretty similar to you as well, Chloe. I think like the best one is when I used to have yard duty on the basketball court And just a lot of students would play like, soccer on the side and then basketball. And it was just nice to have a conversation or, sometimes they'd be like, you have a go at this.
Yeah.
And they're playing some
So it's a
basketball
community,
game.
right?
It is.
Yeah.
And I'm not a sport person at all.
Yeah.
So I think it was refreshing for students in a way to see their teacher be,
Human.
I guess, human and out of like whatever field of confidence and
Or
competency.
learning something. Yeah.
Exactly. And be like, I actually have no idea what I'm doing. Like, and have a good laugh.
Teach me.
Yeah. And I felt like I developed a lot of good relationships from that. And then even just like the conversations that you would have on yard duty as well are very different to if you were in the classroom.
And like students that you don't even teach that would say hello to you. Yeah. Like I really loved that.
It's really sweet.
Yeah.
So very similar to you and then honestly exactly the same as you.
Anything
the worst one.
that involves fights or violence or an escalated situation is not
They're never fun. Did you have a walkie-talkie while you were on yard duty?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I wish we did. I used to always carry my phone and then I had like the school number saved, which like there was an instance where we had a pretty serious incident and I did have to call the office to be like, hey, we need somebody down here. This and this has happened. So I highly recommend that. Like if you don't have a walkie-talkie, have some sort of something.
Yeah.
Preferably a phone,
Yeah.
where you can communicate just in case something happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that came to mind because I was like, what if you're a new teacher and a fight breaks out, and you're just like, oh no, I'm here by myself.
Yes.
Yeah. I think calling someone else, having a plan is a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, crazy.
I
Crazy
can see,
times.
Chloe's face is very reflective.
Yeah,
now.
I've been transported back to some of those like moments, and my heart's like started beating faster.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we've pulled out some repressed memories.
Yeah, pretty much. But you know what? Like you said, there's a lot of really nice memories there too. Like I'm just thinking, like I don't know how I found myself in this position because I am not a super sporty person either.
Yeah.
But I ended up being one of like the sport house captains. And what we used to do as the house leaders was we used to host these different sporting events to like, build some like house pride and like a bit of camaraderie and like, school culture. And I remember we came up with the idea of doing like hula hooping competitions. So there was one week where we did like a hula hoop for house.
Oh, catchy title too.
It was, I know. I'm into a super catchy title. Love a good name. So we did hula hoop for house, but I can't hula hoop. Like I cannot. Like I don't know how to do it. And everyone was trying to teach me and it was like you just move your hips forward and back, not side to side. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I tried really hard, but I just can't do it. It was still fun though.
Yeah.
And then the other one we did was like a skipping competition. And so we had like the small skip ropes, but then the really big ones. And then you could get 2 skipping ropes going like at the same time. And it was really good. And it was like how many like people from a house they could get into the big rope. And they'd all be like jumping together. It was really cute. It was really like really wholesome.
See, there are good memories.
Yes.
They're all not bad. One really important thing to raise is as a teacher, particularly as a fresh-eyed beginning teacher, you're keen, a fresher.
Yeah.
You're really keen. You've got all these ideas. You've got all this inspiration, which is excellent. But sometimes it can be really difficult to say no.
Yeah.
And I might preface, even if you've been teaching for a few years, particularly in the teaching world, it can be quite difficult to say no because you're dealing with so many real humans.
Yeah.
And
there is a
lives.
bit of pressure in teaching, like regardless of where you are in your career, to do things out of the good of your heart.
Yes. I remember, yes.
I remember, yes.
I was like, oh, no. I was like, well, that pulled out a memory for me.
Yeah. Well, tell us a story.
The memory that you've pulled out is at one school. It wasn't explicit, although a few times comments had been made where it was something along the lines of like, oh, but what about the students or but what about the kids? And I think I didn't pick up on it at the time, but looking back now, I felt like that messaging is
Harmful?
But don't worry. Yeah, it's harmful because it's saying, well, don't worry about yourself, regardless of if you're running empty on the tank.
Yeah, you should
if
be
you're
putting,
not stepping up, who else is going to step up?
Yeah,
and
like
it should
put
never
the students first. Put the students first. Put the students first. Yeah,
but
which we do.
We do
that
all the time and time over again. And the best advice I'd ever received up until the end of my teaching career was you can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't. No.
You just simply cannot. And another analogy is very similar, is if you're flying on a plane and, you know, that oxygen is running out and that mask has to go over someone, you know, they always tell you, you put your mask on first before you put a mask on someone else.
Oh, that's true.
Right? They never say, quick, put
it on the child.
Yeah.
Worry about yourself later. No.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. Although I will say it is one thing to say it. I know it is very, very, very difficult to say no sometimes.
To learn to say no.
Yes. And to have boundaries.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your experience with having boundaries and saying no? I feel like we're quite similar.
Yeah, I know. I think we're both A++ type personalities. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah.
I am queen of saying, or have been, not anymore, but I would say, I was queen of yes to everything. Mm-hmm. Queen of overcommitting, queen of like just wanting to do everything for the students and not putting myself first. To the point where like I found myself in my very first year of teaching 6 different classes. So that was my subject allotment. 6 different classes, that's 6 different lots of lesson prep, marking, all of that. Wow. No double ups. I was in Victoria, so finishing my it's called your teaching registration to become fully registered, which involves like an assignment and some additional things.
Yep.
I was also part-time completing my Masters of Teaching.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm still studying at university part-time. And I had been asked to produce the school play, which I like have always loved theatre and productions, and I made it clear to the school that I wanted to get involved.
Yeah.
But getting involved to me didn't mean like running the show. I had no idea how to do that. So I got asked and I got tapped for that. And I felt like up front, I did say to them, I don't feel qualified to do this. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing to do that. I'm happy to be involved, but I don't think I should run it. Mm-hmm. But me trying to set that boundary didn't exactly work. And it took me a lot of courage to say that in the first instance. So I didn't really know what to do beyond that. And so I found myself in the position where, I ran it. And then I chose to run it for another 2 years after that.
Gosh.
Yeah, I know. But that was because I loved it. But the amount of hours and commitment and then other things that I ended up doing, like I just kind of like said yes to a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have. And so it took me a little bit of time to learn how to put myself first. Mm-hmm. And also it took me some time to learn how to reflect on what am I okay, how much am I okay with giving? Mm-hmm. And if you've not been in that situation, it can actually be a hard thing to gauge.
Yeah.
Like how much of myself am I willing to give? How much do I want to reserve just for me?
Yes. Yep.
And at that point in time, I was just throwing all of me at my career because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just starting out. I need to, make a really good impression. Like I want to be an incredible teacher. I want my students to really love my classes. I want my students to have good learning outcomes. I want the students in production to grow and to love this and to feel like they're part of a community, like all of those things.
Yeah.
And at the end of towards the end of my first year, I kind of reflected on things and I was like, I am so burnt out. I'm incredibly stressed.
Yeah.
I have completely neglected my health.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to change something. Mm-hmm. So the next year, that's what I did. I got a personal trainer and I started like exercising regularly for my physical and my mental health. Mm-hmm. I requested some like double ups on my teaching allotment for my second year, which really helped with my planning. And I taught all of those subjects before. So that was really handy too. And I think I just started to learn how to manage my time a little bit better as well. It still took me quite a lot longer than just 1 year to work that out, but they were just a couple of those first steps that I took, I think.
And when you're talking about like your time management, could you give our listeners like maybe a couple of, I guess, not like whether they're small or big, like what were the changes that you made in terms of time management that made the biggest difference?
Yeah. I mean, some of these we've spoken about before. So I used to do like that 30 minutes of marking in the morning when it was quiet and I knew I wasn't going to get interrupted at my desk.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if someone did come up to my desk and they wanted me to collaborate with them on something in that moment or they wanted my help with something, sometimes just being like, hey, I don't have time right now. Can I look at it at this time?
Yep.
Or I don't have capacity right now. You know, could you check in with this person?
Yeah.
Like it's okay to tell people that, like when you are at capacity.
Yes.
Like you don't have to just be like, sure, show me, and then stop what you're doing, which is what I probably would have done initially.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I start to fall behind on everything
Yes.
and then
I think that's so important.
I'm a duck in water all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
What about you? What did you do to manage saying or learn to say no?
I think very similar to you in that it is very hard. I felt like it was almost reflexive for me to say yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would catch myself saying yes, and then a split second later, I knew I shouldn't have had said yes, but it was just so reflexive.
Yeah.
So one thing that really helped from my therapist and psychologist, they suggested, you know, sort of like a statement that I could use when I could physically feel that I wasn't actually really wanting to, you know, either speak or do something at that point in time, but you just need a bit of time to think about it.
Yeah.
I found saying, can I have a think about that and get back to you?
Yeah.
Like the getting back to you
Yeah.
really helped because
Gives
even
you
if
buffer
it was
time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if it was a minute, I could be like, yep, I know for sure.
Yeah.
I don't have capacity to do that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, being able to communicate in a way that's like, you know, I'm really keen, maybe next year, but I just don't have capacity this term to do that. So, yeah.
Or actually, I'd love to do that, but can we put XYZ supports in place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives you that time to go, okay, if I do want to do this, what do I need to do it? And if I don't, like, how can I communicate that?
For sure.
I love that.
Yeah. In terms of like marking and planning, I don't know about you, sometimes the first few years at least, everything bled into each other, like work life, like, sorry, what? It was just all work, you know, including on weekends, particularly with assessments. I found setting an alarm or, you know, for example, staying at work until 4:30 strictly, doing all my marking.
Work becomes work time, home time becomes home time.
And it was like 4:30 on the dot, the alarm goes, you go, rather than I had a bad habit of just sitting there and being like, I'll just get through another set of 10.
And at 6 o'clock and you're like, oh my God.
And I haven't had dinner and I have to sleep and I have to be back here in 8 hours.
Yeah.
So I found that helpful. And the other thing as well is having a moment of reflection. Sometimes the pressure that is there is the pressure that we place on ourselves.
Absolutely.
Rather than actually people putting pressure on us.
Yep.
And I think for a long time when I started off teaching, I had this perception that it was pressure that people were putting on me.
Yeah.
I acknowledge, like, yes, in some cases there were, but the majority of the time it was just this pressure, this invisible pressure that I was putting on myself to meet these deadlines that I had made in my head that no one had actually said.
Yeah.
For example, I was like making deadlines of like, okay, I've got to get student work back to them and feedback, you know, by the next lesson, even if that's like in 2 days and I've got a full 2 days
possible.
anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not possible. So I think having a moment of reflection and asking where is that pressure or deadline coming
Where's it
from?
coming from? Yeah.
Like, has that been said to you or is that something that you're creating for yourself?
Yeah. That's great advice.
Yeah. And also just like in that, you don't have to do it all. Like as a teacher, I had this like sense that I wanted to control a lot of things. So, you know, I took on a lot of the marking and a lot of different tasks, but it was actually like, oh, do you know what? The students can mark this and that's actually going to be powerful for
and
them.
better for their learning.
And better for their learning, right?
Do you know what's interesting? Like I'm just thinking about what you were saying about like those expectations and how sometimes they're not expectations that others have put on us, but they're expectations we put on ourselves. I think the expectations that we put on ourselves can also be learned as expectations that our students then have of us.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that with things like marking, like I would often like turn marking times, and I just clicked, but turn those around so quickly that my class would then expect that of me.
Yes.
Or I would email them back at some godforsaken hour at night, and then they would learn to expect that of me.
Yep.
So you also need to set those clear expectations with your learners about what they can expect from you.
Yep.
Like they forget that you are a human and that you have a life and that you don't live at school.
Yes.
And that you don't, like, you also have a weekend, are entitled to a weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just like reminding them of that. Like, hey, just a reminder, I won't be on my emails at this time to this time, or I won't see it until Monday XYZ.
Yeah.
Like, if you set those expectations, then they're going to put less pressure on you, which will then put less pressure on yourself.
Yes, that is super helpful, and I totally agree with that. I think that's something, I reckon it took me until like my last few years of teaching to be able to sort of be consistent with that with students. And even at the start of the year, you know, especially if you're having senior students.
100%.
Because they can be very
want
keen.
a lot of feedback from you. Yeah.
There was one situation I did an assessment and I had a student email me, I think like at the end of the next day, asking if I'd marked it. And I had to, like, in a very nice way, I said,
No.
Look, we just did this assessment at 2 p.m. yesterday. I've taught for 3 lessons. I've only just had the chance to go on my email now. So no, I haven't. You know, I'm going to have a look at them in the next few days, but I will get it back to you in a timely way.
Yep.
I think also,
lets them understand, like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, this is what's going on.
yeah, and it's just like, oh, I don't only just teach this one class and
No,
that's
and
it, right?
they don't know that. They don't, like,
Yeah.
until you explain it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, what some powerful
Actually, powerful
Some
learning.
powerful-
Semester
yeah.
learnings. Love it.
learnings
Midterm,
and reflections.
mid-semester. Amazing. Well, I think it's time now for our most important learnings. Are you ready, Bez?
Always ready.
We're going to do something a little bit different, and that is we are going to review what we think might be some of the most tasty and practical teacher snacks. So, in front of us, Bez, we have an array of teacher snacks that we are going to sample today. And we might take turns because it's quite a selection here. I'm quite happy with this spread.
Yes.
But we're going to do a taste test, and then let's do a little rating out of 5. So the Yedrolo out of 5. We'll give it 5 if we're giving it like full marks, a 1 if we're like not. But we're going to rate it on 2 things. 1, taste or deliciousness. Okay.
Very important.
Very important. And B, practicality. And I want you to think of practicality as not only like how practical is this for me to eat with one hand while I'm marking or around the schoolyard.
On your duty, running to class.
Yeah, but also in terms of like mess factor, how messy is it? Is it going to leave like a weird residue on your hands?
Very important, yes.
And also how much energy is it going to give you in the long run?
Oh, taking into account energy as well.
Energy as well. Yeah.
Quite responsible. That's good.
I know
That's
that is
good.
responsible
Yes,
of us.
Yes. I like
Okay,
that.
so
Okay.
taste and practicality.
Taste and practicality. Got it.
Okay,
Ready.
do you want to taste our first snack for us?
Oh, yes, I do. I've been eyeing something on there.
Okay, go. Eye off your first thing and have a taste for us. Okay. For everyone listening, this one doesn't make noise, but Des. You have a new nickname. Bez is about to sample a Krispy Kreme original glazed donut.
Ooh, these would not last long in the staff room, I'll tell you that.
Oh, they wouldn't. Okay. She's taking a bite. What do we think, Bez? She's making like happy faces. Okay, thoughts?
Taste, going out of the Ed Rollo 5 scale,
Uh-huh.
if it was higher to give a 5, I would give a 5. I would give more than a 5.
Yeah, it's pretty
But
tasty.
we'll put a 5.
Okay, I see you licking your fingers.
It's just so delicious.
Yeah.
But then that's what I would like to say in the practicality
Department.
In the practicality department, can hold with one hand, so I can walk between classes,
that's
can
true.
do it while you're marking. Depends how messy you are, like, if the icing falls off. But if you're someone like me who doesn't like residue or any sticky, any residue on your fingers, it's not the way to go
Yeah.
unless you're carrying like disinfectant or you've got like a sink near you.
Yep.
So, for practicality, look, I'm going to have to give it a 3.
Okay.
I'm going to dock 2 off for like
Oh, wow. That's like
the residue.
much lower than I thought you were going to give it.
Because you could eat it with a tissue, but then you're also losing a lot of the flavour.
Oh, yeah. And what if the tissue sticks to the glaze? We don't want that.
Exactly.
Gross.
Exactly. All right.
Okay.
Chloe,
I'm going to pick a
over
snack
to you.
at the opposite end of the spectrum.
Ooh.
Okay. So,
So Chloe has picked up a piece of apple, very crunchy, a pink lady, very healthy as well.
this is a good pink lady.
She is enjoying it. She is looking at the piece of apple. with
Cut
some
into
pink
pieces?
heads. Yes,
Because
cut into pieces.
I don't know. I could eat it as is, but I felt like pieces today. Deliciousness. This is a good pink lady.
It is?
I feel like depending on the season, this might not be as good.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 4 for taste. 'Cause
Okay.
It's like nice, it's sweet, it's a little bit tangy. It's got I like a bit of apple skin. I don't know how
Yeah.
everyone feels about that, but I do.
I'm with you.
Good bit of a fibrous hit. So good taste. I think it would taste better with, I was going to say with apple pie. Apple pie would definitely taste better. But no, with peanut butter, I feel like it would taste better.
yes.
So that's why I'm docking 1.
Okay.
And then for practicality, I'm going to give it a 4 as well because, like, I don't have to cut it up. I can eat it with one hand. But
true.
then I have an apple core that I'm going to need to get rid of.
Yes.
And in terms of, like, energy, like, it's pretty good,
Very
right?
sustainable.
Pretty sustainable, pretty nutritious, like, but I have an apple core that I need to get rid of. That's the
true.
only reason I'm docking
Unless
one.
you eat the apple core.
Shouldn't you, like, not eat apple seeds or something?
Oh, yeah. No, this is true.
Yeah.
I've only met a few people in my life who eat apple cores, and it's
There's probably something.
yeah.
They're probably harboring some secrets. No, I'm joking. All right, next snack. Go, Bez.
All right.
I'm going to eat the rest of this apple piece.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm sensing a theme with you today. Give us some ASMR. Oh, so good. I like
a
the
guess.
crinkle.
All right.
An Australian classic.
Ooh.
Bez is sampling for us the mini Cadbury Caramello Koala. Thoughts?
Okay. This might be a sign of me getting older. But taste. Of course, the caramello koala is delicious
Your eyes are like watering.
because it's so sweet.
Okay.
I think when I was younger, I would have given it a 5. But currently, taking half a bite has made me very, very thirsty. So I'm going to give it a 4 for that. Like, it is
Okay.
incredibly sweet.
Must have with water.
Must have with water. So
Okay.
if you don't have water with you, don't eat it. Practicality. Ooh. Look, I'm going to give it a 4
Okay.
as well. Like, it's in a wrapper. You'll have to eat it quickly, otherwise the chocolate melts. But even if it melts, it's inside the
Not
wrapper.
great if it's in your pocket on a hot day kind of thing. Yeah.
And you forget about it. This reminds me of like after school PD, like just a nice little couple of mouthfuls you can get
3:30
down.
pick me up.
Yeah. But in terms of sustainability of energy, I imagine you would be crashing about 15 or 20 minutes later.
Yeah, you'd have to finish up your day.
Yeah. So
So short-term deliciousness, but no long-term gains there.
no, I don't think so.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Chloe
Okay.
has just finished her apple.
I haven't actually quite. So I'll finish it very quickly whilst I get the next snack.
Oh.
It's the best sound.
That's some nice ASMR.
Are you ready?
It's a classic, I would say.
Did you hear that?
Very satisfying.
This is my favourite.
It's a packet. Chloe's getting something out of it. She is very, very pleased with that.
Oh, this is so good. Can you guys hear that? It's the best.
So Chloe's picked up specifically, and I think this is important to mention the brand, specifically a Cobb's Natural, lightly salted and slightly sweet.
Popcorn.
Popcorn. And I think it's very important to mention Cobb's because I'm not sure if I've had one.
It's the elite tier.
Yeah, that does it as well as
But
Cobb's.
to be honest, any like slightly sweet, slightly salted popcorn, I think is like the best flavour you could possibly get.
So Chloe, tell us, how do
I
you
can't stop
rate
eating
this?
Okay, taste. Oh, it's a 5. It's a 5. It's a perfect balance of sweet and salty. It's corn, right? So it's healthy,
Yeah, corn's a vegetable.
right?
Yeah,
And it's puffed, like it's, like it's good for you.
it is healthy.
So I can give it good points for that.
It's not
I'm
deep
just checking
fried.
the packet now. I mean the sugars, yeah, there's a little bit of sugar, but it's not too bad. Fats isn't too bad either. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, I'm only going to deduct 1 mark,
Ooh.
and that's because it's in a packet, and I'm kind of going to have to hold it with one hand and then eat with the other.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what I'm going to give it? I'm going to deduct 2
Wow.
for the practicality.
Wow.
5 for taste, 3 for practicality because I've just
pause.
realised.
She did pause and look at her hands.
I did.
So this is an indication.
Well, I'm just thinking I really want to wipe my hand on my pants because there's a bit of like powder,
Yes.
like the salty sweet powder on my fingers.
Bit of residue.
And then I'm going to want to do the wipe. I don't know if anyone can hear me wiping on my pants, but yeah.
So you've got to do 2 hands and then you've also got to
2
wipe with the
hands
other
and I got to
hand.
wipe. Like I'm not going to want to touch student work.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a problem.
that is a bit of a problem. What are you going to do when you're carrying work and running off to class with your water bottle and
I
all
mean,
your
the other
pens?
option is just holding it with one hand and then like cocking my neck back so that I can just like pour it down my window. Don't do that.
Oh, I was going to say, where there is a problem, there is always a solution, and you've
It's true.
clearly shown us you are a problem solver.
But no, look, I actually think like pretty delicious. It's probably not going to fill you up too much because it's pretty light.
Yep.
But like, it's corn.
It's a spot.
It's fine.
It's a spot.
I
yeah.
think it's great. Really good snack.
Yeah, I'm with
I'm
you on
happy
that
with this one. I would take this over a chocolatey snack.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one because
Yeah.
you don't crash as much.
Yeah, I won't.
And sometimes you just want to like nibble on something, like during PD. You can just nibble
Yeah, little nibble.
for a while.
All right, should we do one more?
Okay, yes, let's do one more.
Do that one?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, this one's in a packet. There's shaking it. Okay, now she's going to open it. Oh. I like that sound.
Oh.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, this is like a two-part snack.
And I have to ask, Chloe, did you ever have this specific snack?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
Yeah, I quite like this. Would sometimes I'd have a bigger version for lunch.
Really? This is
Yep.
the first time I've done it, and I'm wondering why I haven't done it when I was teaching.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I've
So
put the 2 components together.
okay, so it's 2 components. You've put them together, and she's taken a bite. Oh, delicious, crunchy, and smooth. Bez is eating some cheese on crackers, like those little mini packet ones you can get, just little snack size. Also makes for a great lunch,
It does.
but you would need more than just one
Yes, you
little
would not.
snack size.
not survive.
You look pretty happy.
No, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
This is hitting the spot.
Yeah, a little savoury hit.
So taste-wise, taste-wise, I'm going to give it a 4 because I love
Okay.
a cheese cracker situation. I probably just want a bit more of a bougie cracker, but
Okay.
maybe that's just me being spoiled.
Okay, like a seeded cracker with a
Yeah.
little something in it.
but,
Okay.
I mean, realistically, if we're teaching and we're in the staff room, I
Okay,
know
it's a
that's not
classic.
possible.
It's a standard.
Yep.
All right, 4 is still good.
Practicality, I'm going to have to give it a 3. You need 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to dock a mark off for that. You need 2 hands. You've got to like assemble it together. The cracker, while it tastes nice, I really like the cheese. The cracker is making me thirsty.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm just really dehydrated today, but I'm pretty sure it's the cracker.
Teachers are naturally pretty dehydrated, so I think it's important to state.
This is true, all the talking we're doing. So I'm going to dock another mark off for that
Okay.
as well. But I mean, in terms of like energy sustainability, like I feel like it does the trick. It's
Yeah.
not too sweet. Obsessed with cheese, so
Getting a bit of protein, bit of fats, bit of carbs.
exactly a nice savoury snack. I feel like it's hard to get a savoury snack.
I think so too. And you get it like all the food groups in
Yeah.
one snack. Like,
Yeah.
come on now.
Yeah, it's just the 2 hands and the dryness.
Yeah.
But again, just if you carry a water bottle, could be a 4 out of 5
yeah.
then.
I guess the only other thing is not ideal for hot weather. You know, it ended up with melted cheese.
Yes, this is true.
And no one likes that like weird spreadable
in-between,
cheese situation. Nah, that's
it's
like
not really
that's a
real
primary
cheese.
school snack. That's like a children's snack. You look happy. Yeah, the taste is good. The taste,
taste is
look,
good.
that's a worth it snack. Awesome.
So it is the last episode of the semester, of our first semester together. And Chloe, it is also your last episode with us on the podcast,
It is.
which I'm very, very sad about.
Me too.
Chloe's like my partner in crime, but I won't start now because I will probably go on a tangent.
Bez is also a crier, so we don't want that.
Yes, no, I won't put everyone through that. Chloe, I'm interested to hear, we've been podcasting for an entire semester or across 2 terms. In terms of all the different things that we have talked about, what's been your favourite moment? Or what stands out on top of your head?
Wow. Okay, do you want me to pick a single episode?
One single episode.
For anyone that's ever done a podcast before, this is not something Bez and I have done before, and it takes a fair bit of planning for us to think about, okay, what's going to be useful for people to hear about at different times of the year, but also what's happening, what's going to speak to people in this moment. And I think our episode on managing difficult situations was something that we really sat down and carefully considered together. And it was both a challenging episode, I think, for us to record, but it was also weirdly healing. I know that sounds funny, and I think it was one that I was like, I really hope this helps somebody.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That really warmed my heart.
And it's just been really lovely recording with you.
Oh, I've loved recording with you. The genius, the pedagogy queen. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
What are we going to do without you?
You will be just fine.
Oh, goodness you. So we will be taking a slightly longer break on that note. But in saying that, it is only a break. So don't worry, we will be back in August to support and help you with all of your teaching and learning needs.
For the last time from me, thanks for listening. Make sure that if you enjoyed today's episode, you comment and like us and rate us on Spotify or Apple. Until next time with Bez.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.